going to mark up some of these, what do you call them, like plank ends. You can see that some of them almost rubbed out while I was standing, so just put them back in. The thing is, I like them so they're kind of more subtle than obvious. See, some of them wiped out entirely. Don't really want to lose them all together. So we might put these in, but this will be getting a fine rub down very shortly before I put some sanding sealer on. And then some varnish on top of that. So bear with me, I'll be back in a few seconds. Right guys, a few seconds for you, about half an hour or so, well maybe a bit longer. I've marked all the planks, as you can see. Came out quite nice. I gave it a coat of sand and sealer and rubbed it down. After it dried, it doesn't take long for sand and sealer to dry. And the white you can see on the corners here is just the residue from clear varnish, which I can take out with a little brush. I mean, it dries to nothing. It's just a satin varnish. It doesn't do any harm sitting in the corners like that. I'll just take my brush in and wash my brush afterwards. I thought I'd got most of the residue out, but obviously you get some left in. As I say, it'll disappear. It dries to nothing. This varnish was really good. So let that set. It's going to take probably about an hour to go off in its entirety, and then the next job is to cut out these two holes, and we'll carry on to the next stage then. See you in a few seconds. I'm back. This is setting nicely, so I'm going to cut out these two hatches, which is the next step. I've got my little moving tool. I just don't know anywhere to put my Dremel, so I'm hoping if I put it on the bench here, it's not going to shake everything loose. We'll see. Well, I may have to get in front of the camera. And it stopped rotating already. Right we are, folks. It's all cleaned up now. From what I can understand, it's a misprint in the thing. 9 is here. F9C2 is right here where my finger is now. That's going to stay. It's going to be touched up around. I think basically you take one of these, because of how you would normally cut it out, this would disappear. They put a replacement behind and level with the cutout. Now, see what's happening here. So that's what I'm going to do. This, you can see this floor flexes. So I'm going to cut this out, and then when I cut one of these out, I'll put it behind this other one. And I think that's what you do, and that becomes the strengthener for that. So that's a job for the morning. Quite pleased with how it's gone so far. We'll see how we get on tomorrow with cutting those out. See you in a few seconds. And just like that, I'm back. I took the piece from here, and to get it to go in there, I stuck two little nails in it, which gave me something to hold on to. I was able to position it perfectly against this former, which I'd cut out. It will get painted in a few minutes. I took batteries out just to give me some room to work. One thing I noticed, and this is what you have to be careful of when you cut through here, you see this cable, I almost cut through it. So I shall, I'll probably put a little bit of insulating tape around that just to insulate it. But you have to be careful when you're cutting through these, the deck here, that you don't cut through the wires, because well, unless you know what you're doing with electrics, I know it's only 3 volts, it's not going to do a great deal of damage, but just be careful. Now I want to leave the switch so it's convenient. Right. Yes, they're fine. I'm going to paint this in here in a few minutes, but first I'm going to take this panel here out. Now I still haven't found the bits that make my Dremel extension work. So I'm just going to have to struggle with the Dremel. Okay, let me cut it out and I'll come back to you. Right, I think I'm finished with the cutting tool for now. Well, the noisy cutting tool. I've not finished cutting yet. But eagle eyes amongst you will have noticed that there is a former under here. Let's try and take the wood out first, and we'll see how. See how that will do. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. See, that's going to move. Now that's going to be propped up as well. It's interesting there. To work out what's going to be the easiest and best way to do this, because you see that the deck's going to move there. In fact, it's already moved. That'll have to be propped up. So I guess we'll probably have to do the same as we did over here and put a strengthener behind it. What do you think? There's going to be a mast in there, so let's see if we can lift this wood out. Well, the answer to that is yes, we can lift that out. To an extent. Okay. I suppose the best and the easiest way is to move that back. I don't know what I'm just looking up the pictorial instructions to see what they do. They just cut it out. They don't. They don't seem to put a filler behind it at all, which I find very strange. I know that later on a staircase gets dropped into this hole and it becomes a stairwell down to the lower decks. I wonder if I'm just not happy with this. The fact that this deck can move, but I didn't design it. I'm just following the instructions. When we get on with and do it, I'll come back to you. And just like that, as if by magic, the hole is cut. I won't trim the edges off until I come to fit the stairwell in. I've got the shape roughly correct, and you can see I've painted up the other parts. Let me just take the light out of the way. There you go. Painted the two at the front and the two either side of the main mast. So I'm going to let that set before I do the next phase, which I think is lining this deck opening. And I'll come back to you in a few seconds. Right guys, while I'm waiting for this paint to go off, doesn't take very long, I've prepared the next pieces of wood by painting them. This is this dark red leather, three sides, so got to be rubbed down yet. And I've also pulled out 4 doors and painted them as well. Now I've left them stuck together because I find it easier to work with them in one big piece than to set 4 separate pieces. So when they're set, they get a coat of, well, I wash them with sepia. They say to wash them down with a lighter version of this, but I find the sepia wash that I have in my jar does this just as good. And it makes it look like wood, which is what it's supposed to do. Okay, I'll come back to you when these are all set and start putting the frame on this hatch. You'll see what's all there. See you in a minute. Alright fellas, it's a bit of time to set in. Now I need to find some wood to cut, not wood, some nails to cut some door handles out of. Now it shows me 507 and I should have 300 and I guess that's the these ones here. I'll need 4. This one I dropped 296 of them on the floor. 1. I wonder if they're the same size nails as I was using before. Use ones I had before. Yeah, they're exactly the same. That's good. It's sort of standard. I think these ones are slightly longer. Makes no difference. I'm going to chop the nails up to make them into door handles. Doorknobs. This is the sort of thing which you don't keep a tight grip on both parts of the nail, one piece will fly God knows where, they're so small. But if you're like me and you've got electrics in your shed, those little bits of metal can do untold damage by landing in the wrong place. Hope you guys can see this. It's very fiddly. Now it's just gone flying. Okay, and that's one that's got to be replaced. I'm pretty sure you've got loads of spares. I'll give you 300 nails, you probably only need 150 or 200. I could probably have cut them a bit shorter. Let's see if I can grind it. No, I think that's certainly a bit. I don't know if that's got any glue on it or not. I don't think it's got any glue on. That's now. Trouble is now there's glue on the tweezers. I should add, guys, I am looking for a magnifier to see what I'm doing. There is no way I could do this with the naked eye. This is the problem. When it rolls over, of course, the top then gets glue on it, and it doesn't want to rotate into position. Wow, wow, wow. I'll bring you down and let you see what that's like close up. I can assure you that is a frustrating there you go. If you want to get an impression of the scale, I got a ruler handy I can put beside it. Let me see if I can get a rule and put a rule beside them and you can see the size then. So each door is about what? 1.5 centimeters high. Gives you an idea of the scale. Okay, I'll see what I can do with these and I'll come back to you. Right then, time to put the frame around this hatch. Just get my magnifier in a place where I can see it. Hope you've got enough light to see what's going on. Let me see what happens if I put more light on. Is that any better? No, it starts to bloom then. What happens if I take the direct light on? Is that any better? Yeah, there you go. It's the direct light it doesn't like. So if I right, let's try it with that. So this is the surround for this hatch, and we have to take it 2 mils over, come to this end, 2 mils over, so I need 2 at that length. Just got to find my plank cutter, I'll be back. I just realised I did this door frame on video without the microphone switched on. So I'm just showing you what it looks like. And I'm going to darken these door frames down a little bit more. They say to use this colour watered down 4:1. So I'll try it, make it darker, because I think these are very, very light. A bit too light for me, I can't. There you go. What do you think? Is it too light? I'll try it with a darker stain and see how we get on. Okay, I'm going to carry on and do the other 3 door frames. I'll come back to you when they're done. Right, the next part of the build is to do the inside walls of this deck. I've already put the front piece on while I was waiting for the back piece to set. It's very straightforward. What I find amazing is they do all the joints on this form here. So this one I'm just going to nick it back a little touch to match up with the boards, but I need to get the length right for this one, which comes from the cabinet we just put in and joins up right on this formula. So I'm going to mark it right on the same line as these rivets. Imitation plugs. Don't think they had rivets. Oh, they must have had, because it's going to have a copper bottom, so it could have been rivets. Let me know what you think. You just get it to lie against the former. It forms a nice line. You can see you've got to nick a titchy bit off the end of that. But you have to be careful not to clip in between the formers, otherwise it ends up with a bow shape. So let me carry on with this. I'll come back to you when I've got something substantial to show you. Okay guys, you can see that I've got 1 row in. It's going to take, I think, 3 rows to come up to the height of this. These are 5mm boards, which is the same as the outside. And you can see that's 1, 2, 3, maybe onto a 4th board. So it's just a case of building that up, the same as I did on the deck. Only this is the inner, same as I did on the hull. And this is the inner hull. And you can see there's going to be a big gap here. Now those cannon port, I made one up before I cut the cannon ports. And you can see that why they're so deep now, because you have to cut through and make the cannon ports on the inside. That's going to be fun. But that's part of the fun of shipbuilding, isn't it? Okay, I'm just going to carry on with this at my own pace. There's no point in filming it all. I'll come back when I've got something more complete to show you. So I gave that one a good bit of time to set in. Not happy with this top corner, but it'll do. It'll get sanded, you won't see it. So the next one I find it quite comical, not comical, but amusing that they stop. They don't stagger the joints. They both, all the rows start and stop on this former. So, right there. Okay guys, that's me for today. I've just got, I think, one or maybe even 1.5 strips to put on at the back here, and a little bit to put on at the front just to bring it up to the level. You see it's going to be a little bit trim, that's all. So I'll let that set, let it harden in, and I will do these bits in the morning and the other side. So that's me for today. Okay, see you in a few seconds. And just like that, I'm back. So it's now the next morning. Just and we've managed to stick plastic to the wood. So that's one to be cut away. I'm just putting these clips down here for now because I'll be using them all again in a minute. Now I've got to cut that bit away from there. The fun of being a modeller is a tip for all busy modelers. You see, I was holding that with this hand. Just wanted to show you, while I can, how these doors came out. Let me see if I can lift the camera out. You see they darken down quite nicely. Nice. They do kind of look like wood, don't they? Considering they were pieces of brass, it's not too bad. Okay, I'll be back in a few seconds. There we are, not even half an hour later. Both sides are totally planked. One thing I've highlighted is this exactly level along here. This side, the outer deck is slightly low, and it's low compared to these, I don't know what they are, the loading streaks. So I'm going to put a bead along there later and narrow it out to the cutout, but I think it needs a bead just to level it up to this, to make it the same height as this one. And you can see I put a piece on here and the same on this side, and the back is level at four pieces, so that works out right. Okay, I'm going to let that set. I'll come back to it in a little while and see if I can find a piece of wood to bolster that side up and make it the right height. It looks like it's a 2mm piece, and I've got loads of that. In fact, I'm looking right at a piece. It's maybe not 2mm by 2mm. Could be. Yeah, looks like it. Perfect piece of wood to go along there and then be shaped in later. Okay, I'll do that when it's all set, and I'll come back to you. So, done the flanking, just put that extra little piece of strip in there. You can see it's going to have to be trimmed off. It's at the places where it matters, it's going to give that extra bit, and I'll sand it off to match. Okay, the next job is to cut the holes through into the inner cover. You can see I've still got some primer and paint in the holes. They'll be cleaned up in a minute, especially when I'm cutting through onto the inside edge. Looks like I need to just put a piece of that trim on there as well. Probably both sides, yeah, a little bit. That won't hurt. Yeah. So the next job, if you followed on from my previous videos, is to cut out the Gunport liners. So I cut them out and I make them up. I make them up in halves and then I join them together. So I've got all the little Gunport liners done. I'm not going to film that. I've done that several times already. You know what's involved. Cut these out. I'll mark them first because you have a wide space and a short space. And I'll come back to you when I've got them all done. There you go, guys. Loads of half cannon. We call them fillers, liners, cannon port liners. Let those set, and then I'll come back when I've had my coffee, and I'll put them back together. I'll put them all together and bring out the one from the box that I use as my template, and that should be the right amount then. Practice probably a couple of spares. See you in a few seconds. Okay guys, just to finish this week's or tonight's video, 28 Gunport frames all assembled eventually. Sometimes they stick more to me than they do to themselves. But tomorrow I'll start cutting out the insides. That'll be fun. Okay, if you like what I'm doing, consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Like, share, send it to your friends, whatever. And if you subscribe, you'll see the notification icon, which is a bell, will come up. If you click on that, you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded to the page. And in my case, that's a Monday and a Thursday evening. And I've just noticed a very interesting, it's pure luck. The different shades of the wood, I got light, dark, light, dark, light. That was not planned, I can assure you. It's just how it came out. Okay, see you on the next one.